Just very quickly, I want to introduce myself. My name is Chia Nako, and I'm the graduate intern of the Multicultural Center. I want to thank all of you all for coming to our first Racial Identity Forum. Just want to first introduce the guests that we do have. If you guys can stand up when I say your school's name. We have Southern's Black Student Union here. And we have Southern's NAACP here as well. And we have University of New Haven's Black Student Union. And Yale University Black Student Alliance. And we have our wonderful other students from many different rooms of Southern. You guys can stand up as well. Your table. Okay, so for our forum, I'll discuss the format very quickly and explain how it's going to go. So each table will have one representative deliver the answer. The answer is going to be read by Mr. Drippin, who I'll introduce very shortly, and the questions will be back here as well, so you can view them as you answer your questions. So once each question is posed, you guys will have a certain amount of minutes to answer them, and we will keep to that time. Even if you're not done, you will drop your pens. And that one representative will come up from every table, come up here, we'll give you the mic, and you will deliver your answer. The questions are not allowed to be one-worded answers. They have to be very well thought out and well-versed. And then Mr. Drippin will also elaborate a little more on the background of the question itself and give us a little bit of history. And then we'll take either, if the audience has any answers, we'll take that from them as well, or if they have any questions. So for our forum speakers, you guys understand all the questions? I mean, all the format, everything's good? Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to introduce Mr. Steve Drippin, who's going to be your moderator tonight.
Good evening. It's good to be in a room full of intellects and thinkers and students who are our leaders of tomorrow and today. And I'm excited to be here. My name is Steve Drippin. I work with the City of New Haven and work with the youth department, so I'm very much involved with the youth in the city. That's been a strong passion of mine next to my other passion, which is probably writing, and hoping I can always merge those through the arts, using that to impact our kids in the city. So it's good to be here, and I'm fortunate to be with you, and I'm hoping to learn as much from you and facilitate this as best as possible. And I'm excited to hear these thoughts that come out from this forum. So let's get this started, and we're going to go on. We're going to go along with the first questions, and I think I'm going to ask the schools. I'm not going to ask in a particular order, so I'm going to jump around. So it's not going to be formatted in any kind of way to ask who goes first, second, or third. I'll just rotate that around. Okay, fair enough? I'll talk to you. Yes. Okay, so let's go with our first question. What is racial identity? What is racial identity? We have 5 minutes for that. And for our audience, I'm going to probably be picking on some of you to see what your thoughts are as well. Time. Put your pictures down, please. Discussions. So the question is, what is racial identity? Can you hear me on this? You hear me? What is racial identity? I'm actually gonna, and audience members, I'm gonna be asking that question to you because we've all have our own definitions, learned definitions that we've learned through our own communities, our families, and through formal education. I'm going to start off though with our whole school. with me, so since you guys started this. And who's going to be the spokesperson from? Okay, all right. So, Southern, what is racial identity?
Racial identity is genetic, biological, and cultural characteristics that that a person defines themselves as. The cultural piece would be the cultural values and morals handed down from that person's nationality or ethnic group, I guess you would say. And yeah, that's all it is.
Thank you, Southern. Okay, you want to UNH? Yes. Okay, UNH. Who's going to be the spokesperson, like a family feud of, so who's going to be the spokesperson? Robert. Okay. I started off with the whole school. I'm sorry. You want me to come in there? Ronald.
Ronald, you're more than welcome to take the mic.
No.
How you define yourself in this particular race or ethnicity, not just the color of your skin, how you assimilate yourself into a specific culture, how you identify yourself racially.
Color of your skin. And Southern says that more directly, it is the biological, genetic, and cultural characteristics that a person defines themselves as. And they define that through what, family? Family and cultural values passed down. All right. So, the NAACP, who's going to be that spokesperson?
Hello? That's right. So, first of all, the NAACP wants to say thank you for this opportunity to allow us to speak. The second thing we want to say is that we strongly agree with the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, which says that we are not a race of blacks or whites, but we are one race, which is the human race. So, the human race is how we would like to define what racial identity is, which is everyone being human beings, number one. The second part that we've identified when looking at racial identity is how when we're younger, we all identify as human race. But as we start to get into our adolescent years, we start to say, I'm black, I'm white, I'm Muslim. So with looking at racial identity, it's saying that our world experiences help to shape that from us going from the human race to how we identify ourselves. Great.
Okay, so it is the human race. And I'll come back and say some more for that. I'm going to challenge them a little bit. I'm going to pick the boys' brains just a little bit. So when we talk about the human race, then who started the racial? Who started the racial identity? You have any? Where did that come from? Anybody have an idea, thought? Okay, so racial identity is defined by the pigmentation, but who began the whole concept that you're black, I'm white, you're Hispanic, European? So I'm hearing white Europeans, so you're saying this, sir?
Basically, from my perspective, I believe racial identity is nothing but a social construct used to either subjugate or classify different groups of people based on society's interpretation of those groups of people.
Okay, all right. So the brother here feels that it's been designed to kind of keep people categorized, so to speak, individuals, and subjugate them into different levels or classes, etc. Okay. So let me kind of go over. What was this? This is also. Okay, we'll come back to you guys. Okay. We go over here to Yale University. Who's looking at the spokesperson here? What's your name? Taj. Taj.
So we define racial identity as a method of identifying people through both historical and cultural ties. It's a way that we can relate experiences both individually and in societal context to help identify and differentiate one person from the next.
stigmas and stereotypes. One is naturally stuck to their own culture because society feels the need to organize and categorize for security reasons.
Any comments from the audience? Any comments? So I think I really appreciate every answer was actually thoughtful. The definition that you guys came up with, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer per se. I don't think that's the purpose of this, is who's has the right or wrong answer. It's all about perception. And one thing when we talk about race in this country, it's all about perception. So here we are talking about an age-old problem that probably goes back to the beginning of time. When you talk about sexual identity, you talk about racial identity, all these things. I think, Ron, I think you said something about the time frame in which we recognize. When do we recognize? I think I'm jumping to questions here, so I better not get ahead of myself. So let me go back to the questions. But Ron, you said something about it starts at the age of adolescence. Is that what your group said?
Yes.
Say it again. Can you repeat it?
We said that usually around the age of adolescence is where people start to identify with this racial identity. Prior to that, we're human, we're interacting. But this racial identity comes in when they're adolescent.
Okay, good. I think leads into another question, so we'll kind of hold that until next time. So let's go to the next question, question number 2. How does one determine racial identity? How does one determine racial identity? I'm almost trying to answer the first time. You have exactly 2 minutes. 2 minutes on this question. 2 minutes. How does one determine racial identity? How does this thing relate to the history of race? I keep coming to this thing because it's still racist. That's why.
I believe this quote has resonated with our culture, blacks in particular, because in the past we sold ourselves, the Africans, in slavery. We enslaved ourselves because of ignorance, because of who looked like this or because of what. There's much more history. And since that was passed, in the past, we have condemned ourselves. And even now we condemn ourselves, and we don't even know. Unless we know it, we take it as a joke.
So, the incident before me was one of the biggest reasons that we feel lost in America as a race, I would say black people, is because our lineage has been stolen from us. It's been hidden, it's been lost, it's been corrupted. And this can go back to slave time because we can't trace our race, our history back with other organisms. Wow, man, that's crazy. Okay, so slavery, discrimination, and racism. We weren't allowed to find our history, therefore we feel lost, and if we feel lost, we can easily be taken and distracted and pulled in different ways that don't affirm us as proper people. I guess it was.
This is our answer. We first said self-hate. We hate ourselves more than the outside world. We have interracial battles where we forget where we come from. We are oppressed by regenerating racism. Also, we learn history. We can't know the past if we don't know where it is. For example, and this is the calling thing out, but when you look at our school system, even when you look at Southern, if you go to our library, you're not finding too many books that have our history in it. When you go to our public schools, you'll learn history, you'll learn that Christopher Columbus discovered America. And we all know that that isn't true. So there's no way that we can remember our past if we don't know our past.
You want to say something on that? Yes, G.A. G.A. Put the icing on it, G.A. G.A. Put the icing on it.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is about the G-Day. As far as the quote goes, I think it's very simple, but if you're not, first, if you're not groomed with certain information, things don't become so simple. It's like common sense. And basically, like Marcus said, history plays a vital role in understanding who you are and where you come from. Us as a black people have lost that since the 60s. We don't really have leaders, strong leaders. We don't have representatives that allow us to understand who we are and where we come from. And the school system evidently is not teaching us that because we're already brainwashed to believe that this education matters the most, not who we are and where we come from. Therefore, that factor being removed from us, of course history is going to repeat itself. We're enslaving each other without knowing it because we don't have a definite definition of what slavery is. It's like the young brother said, we sold ourselves as Africans, but you wouldn't say as Africans if you identified yourself as an African, not black. But that's part of a social construct, removing different information from who we are. So we don't even look at ourselves as Africans in America. We look at ourselves as black. And some of us call each other niggers because that's the new information that we believe in because we've lost the old information.
So I got 2 tables left. Anybody want to follow behind that? Follow behind that. You want to take this? Sure. She said, I'm not going to walk by that.
Okay. So we pretty much just said that we just kind of took it and just kind of like defined in our own terms that those who don't know their history, just like you said, it's going to repeat itself. Similar to like, the debate say of light skin versus dark skin. Obviously, today people feel like if you're lighter skin just because through media and other stereotypes and stigma, you feel like light skin is the right skin. Light skin is the right skin. Just like how back in the day, there was a huge difference between a house slave and a field slave.
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting because when you talk about those who cannot remember the past, then when I think about our educational system, as you said, and how a lot of young people don't even know their history. And if you don't know your history, then it's almost like foretelling. It's like a prophecy because we see that. Here it is today. The usage of the word, the N-word, is just so normal. It's almost like you're just calling someone by their name almost. And really, years ago, that was just the most degrading name that we would call that was called to us. Here we are embracing the same thing. So it's almost, I don't know if it's like this, I don't know what it is, amnesia or what, I don't know if it's the divine setup to set us up so we can almost kind of just spiral into wherever we're headed. I would love to entertain you. I got to move on, okay? I got to move on. Oh, now you want to talk to me, huh?
I was fine talking earlier.
Okay, I got you.
I'll be fine. I'm Micah. Hi, everyone. We just want to take a slightly different perspective and say that it's about more than self-hate. There's a context and a history that we exist in, and it's not just that black people today don't believe in themselves. It's about more. We were brought over here as slaves, and we've never fully broken out of that system. Blacks are not poor now because we're stupid or because we don't know what we're doing or because we're a lesser people. We're poor because our parents were poor and we never had a chance to break out of that cycle. And it is about more than just saying that we're not niggers. It's about living lives and fighting against structural factors that are meant to perpetuate issues of race.
That's good. That was good. It is a lot more. It is a lot more. So let's go to the next question. The next question is, how would you rank the no, that was it. Okay, how is being a person of color in America now different from being a person of color in America 50 years ago? How is being a person of color in America now different from being a person of color 50 years ago? Time is up. So, how is being a person of color in America now different from being a person of color in America 50 years ago?
Hi, I'm Lauren. You said that for a person of color, there are still opportunities for people of color to advance in society, but instead of there being physical signs ruling discrimination, it's more underlying tones of racism, such as media and racism being institutionalized instead of it being blatantly put out
NAACP would like to start off with a quote by Thomas Jefferson, which once said, "As time changes, we must change." So, when we look 50 years ago, the people of 50 years ago, they were willing to fight against oppression, they fought hard, and they actually gave their lives. But we people 50 years later, we take that work for granted. Now, why do you think I say that? We take it for granted because we degrade ourselves to a twerking video, we degrade ourselves to being defined by what the media says we are, what social media says we are. We won't even get up and vote. It's a shame that even if you look at New Haven, that less than 50% of African Americans go out and vote in New Haven for the mayor election, but over 85% of us voted for President Obama. And it's nothing against the president, but when you look at a local election, the mayor actually has more power than the president. So to see less than 50% of us voting for mayor, it kind of shows where we are, that we're still uneducated and we still haven't really gotten to a point where we're ready to fight and carry that load.
Okay, my name is Maya. For the question, is it better, how's it different from 50 years ago? I feel that instead of it being more active as it was 50 years ago, it's now more passive. And in a way that's a little bit worse because instead of them actively going at us and discriminating, it's underneath, it's in our jobs, it's in just the small conversations that we have with people. It's in education. The system is kind of designed to keep us down. And it's also worse because instead of just them acting out against us, it's more of a progressive thing. We're acting out against ourselves. And that trickles down from the system.
Okay. They didn't keep me talk because I was getting upset at the table. So they told me not to get super ratchet. So 6.5, all right. So basically, I feel personally there is no difference. It's more hidden. More hidden meaning racism is not out there as I hate black people, but there's still racist people everywhere. Whether it's based on race, and even where you're from, I'm from the suburbs, all white. All my neighbors are really racist. They told us to hate black people every day. And we've been there for over 20 years. So it just shows you things just don't change. That's all.
So we said the difference between being a person of color now than 50 years ago is the difference between overt oppression and feeling of racial paranoia. 50 years ago, there was a very clear distinction between blacks and whites. Very clear distinction, very clear difference between going to a school as a black person and a white person. Now that difference is not as readily apparent. Anybody can walk to the store and buy something, or go to the store. But the difference comes when you're applying for a job and your black sounding name makes you less likely to get the position. The difference comes when black kids carrying drugs are charged 10 times more severely than their black counterparts with 10 times of something. I would say that there has been change. There has been measurable good change in that black people aren't being hosed down the streets and black people aren't having dogs sit on them. It's a difference. It is not a difference that we should settle for, but it is a definite change from the position that we were at 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
All right, so I saw some hands sprout up, 3 hands. Can I talk to you? Can you tell me about 50 years ago?
It's not easy for me to talk about the difference between 50 years ago and today. 50 years ago, people were you were clearly who you were. You sat on the back of a bus. You drank from certain water fountain. You didn't go to the same schools. Schools that you went to were, like today, less funded than others. But there's an interesting thing, and someone said it already. There's not been a seriousness today where the things that really are oppressive for us are so slick. They're in 3-piece suits now. Where before they were white robes. We accept today what we didn't accept 50 years ago. 50 years ago, if you weren't being educated in school, your mom was down there knocking on the school door trying to find out why you weren't. Today, we accept the fact that A we got in the class may or may not represent an A in the real class. That A may be your 6th grade A when you're in the 8th grade. We're not as involved with ourselves as we were. I have to say, and friends of mine, my friends and I talk about all the time, when we get angry young folks, we have to realize that 50 years ago, you weren't even born. 50 years ago, some of your parents weren't even born. So the kind of visceral reaction we had 50 years ago, the anger that drove us to make some things happen, even here in Southern Connecticut. You guys are not experiencing that because much of what you walked into, the groundwork for what you're able to do was laid 50 years ago by folks who were on patrol. So it's a whole different ballgame out here. You're not as mad as you were. You're not as focused as you were. You still want the same things, but you're much more passive. And that's going to change.
Thank you. One thing I just want to say with that is that kind of moved me emotionally is that when he said, the road had been paved. The travesty behind that is that it's our job to finish paving, and we've stopped. We're doing it, we're working really at a snail's pace. There's so much 50 years ago, I would respect you, sister, walking by me. Now, I'm not going to respect you walking by me. I'm going to look and see if I can bag you. So, we can go on and on with that. It hurts. I know, I get you. Come on.
real quick, just make it quick.
Just wanted to make sure that I think it kind of goes or follows up with what Coach Bob was saying. 50 years ago, there was a different level of fear. When you step out your house and you said certain things, you were liable to be killed. Nowadays, everyone in this room, when you graduate, when you actually leave Southern or leave UNH, you leave Yale, when you speak your mind, you're labeled as a radical. So when we talk about, so if you know me, I've spoken to you about this. So when I put a suit on, I can walk into certain places, but I can't speak my mind because I know that I can't help other brothers and sisters get in because of how people are going to look at me. And if they think that that's how I look or that's how I act, then I close the door for you. So when we have that whole entire lane paved, we're there to walk on it because as soon as we start to walk, people start to paint us as something that we can't afford to be today. So until we come up with a plan that allows us to make sure we can get these things done, we shall continue to let the generation who paved the path for us, we shall continue to let them down. And that's where we are today. So I've come to the point that if you've been around me in Baba G Day before, I might be on the opposite side of Baba G Day, but I've grown a little bit more to understand that we need both sides. We need both sides. Because you're going to need a brother who can go somewhere, anywhere, in a suit and be able to talk, like what they say, King's English. You're going to need one of those. But I'm also going to need somebody who's going to push the other side. Things would not have happened if you didn't have a Malcolm in the market. You understand what I'm saying? Because we had to give them a choice. But the difference is, we got to get to the point that we have to stop saying, can you give us what we deserve?
Amen.
And I'm not saying that we have to be violent, but when you talk about things that are God-given, how do we ask another man for what's God-given? How do I raise my son up and tell him to go ask another man for what I've given him just by letting him walk out my door? So I refuse as a black man to let those things happen. But another part, and I didn't get to say is, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was going to go wrong here. I lied to you, I'm sorry. But another thing is, the individualism. We have been fooled in some form of fashion. Because when you start to walk out your house and you taste a piece of success, it tastes so sweet that you no longer want to say, Daryl, you gotta do this. You more focused on your family because that's all that counts. And then when you're gone, and anyone in your family no longer is moving the way that you need them to go, all that success dies. And we lose that in our communities. So we move out of our communities. I moved away from Jersey City, New Jersey, and come here, but I'm not as involved, I wasn't as involved, like I told the issue. I wasn't as involved on campus because that wasn't my concern. I was concerned with myself and what I was going to do to get out of school and where I was going to go. So like I said, as I look in the room again, it's too many young ladies in here compared to young men. I need to get these people involved. You can't do it by yourself. Make people accountable. Can't nobody bag you when you don't allow them. We shut that down. I'm about to have a daughter next month. You can't bag my daughter. I'm going to bag you. I'll end this one piece. Make sure your education does more than just give you a paycheck. Okay? It has to do more. We have to build a legacy with what we're doing. You're not here just to say, I'm working for Travelers, I'm working for Southern Connecticut State University. I am looking to do something greater than do it just for my family. It has to be for all of us. And that's what people strip away. And they make us by ourselves and wish we're weak.
I guess we gotta be like the spook who sat by the door. That's what we have to be. We didn't read that book, read the book. The spook who sat by the door. And it's interesting because where I work in city government, and it's amazing because one of my biggest complaints is that where are the older brothers to kind of point me the rest of this way? And unfortunately, I name names and I name names, people who are in good positions that could open doors, point in the right directions. Brother, you get ready to retire after 54 years sitting in this spot. How is it that you don't have a legacy? How is it that you just walked out the door and left that chair empty for anybody to grab? I think that's robbery.
I think that what's due is, and even for me, my position really needs to pave the way and open the door for you. See, it's not really just about me and what my paycheck does. It's really about what people can I open that door and get in. That's what it's about. And if we don't do that, shame on all of us in here. If we think that, and I know we got student loans, and we got responsibilities, bills, families, et cetera, but we have to be still responsible. What is your calling? In spite of everything that we're talking about with race, what is your calling? And is your calling can't be so selfish and self-gratifying. It can't be that way. Because then we just like the last poll, we're doomed. I see a hand here, and we're going to get
what's the name of that book?
The Spook Who Sat by the Door.
We've
The
been
Spook.
scared to be pro-black.
I'm sorry?
We've been scared to be pro-black. So we can't, we have to leave the chair open because if we put someone in that looks like you, they're going to say that you did that because you were black. If you put me in, that's because I'm black. It can't be because I'm qualified and I'm better than everyone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why it's important that, and I have to say, I'm not saying I'm going to leave the door open just because you're black. Don't get me wrong, because we have to, where we're at now, we need people who are qualified. We need individuals who have the wherewithal and the background and the knowledge. You got to have that. You can't come, yo, hook your brother up. You can't do it. Like the hookup days like that, they're like, bro, what can you do? What can you bring to the table? We have to have impact. We have young people that are still dying. We have prisons. We have Wexner School is I'm working on a project now with the city. Wexner School is a middle school. And it has one of the highest arrest rates. Why? Why is a middle school having high arrest rates in this city? Alex, go ahead.
So, I'll be really honest. I wasn't raised as a black guy. All right? But I believe that we need to raise our children the right way. When I was a kid, my brother wanted to play with, we'll see. My brother wanted to play with a black kid around the corner, right? And my dad said, that's fine, go play with him, I want to play basketball. But our neighbor says to us, don't let your son play with that kid. But my dad let him play with it anyway. I think there has been progress since I have the ability to have conversations. Sorry, sick man. With anybody I want now. I started a company, a motivational speaking company this summer. My friend is black. I can call my brother now because we've made progress. You know? And it's important that the self-interest, as we say, it's not about the self. Because I noticed also that you're not black, you're not white, you can be anybody, you can say you hate math. And that's why I want to be a math teacher. You know? It's about how we raise our kids to treat other kids. So that all black, all children, all handsome, you know?
Okay, we're going to go to the last question. There are about 6 questions we have to omit tonight, right? About 6, but the last one, you know which one? This is the last question. What are you most proud of about your race? What are you most proud of about your race? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. About your race. And I said that I would start off with UNH study.
We represent progress. Every male, female in this room all have something that they have done and progressed to something well beyond the stars. Growing up, your parents told you one thing: don't be like me, be better than me. So that's the progress that we're all making today. We're all in college. Your family probably never went to college. My mother didn't go to a school. At the age of 19, she had 2 kids, working 2 jobs, and married. Go figure. Now I'm 19. I'm in school. My brother, he's 18. He's in he goes to Novus Community College, and we're all making big steps. I have a friend. I swear to God, this dude is like one of the strongest guys in the world that I've met. He struggled in high school. He needed help. I wasn't the most athletic person, but he was. He had a gift. He had that God-given talent. But he needed that person to give him that push to get him to passion. So what I did, I helped in biology, chemistry, physics, I helped him in all that. Now this guy goes to Division I Nebraska on a full-ride academic scholarship. He had a 1.7 GPA, graduated with a 4.1. I helped him with AP Center and everything. This guy, he has 3 kids. They all moved to Nebraska, so he can, like, the coaches never gave him a promise and he can raise his family. And yet, right down to this day, he's a sophomore there, have a 3.2, and he's making progress. He was told multiple times that he would die at the age of 17. This guy is 20 years old. He's still living. I don't think he's ever going to stop. I don't think anyone in this room is ever going to stop due to anything that comes in their way. If you know anything about track, hurdles. My mom said, leap over each hurdle. Run through them obstacles. That's all that is, and that's all that we're doing right now. We're just making progress, jumping over the obstacles.
Come on, next. Represent.
Dovetail off what my brother just said, the sheer amount of progress that we have made as a race and as a people is something that I'm most proud of. My great-grandfather was born a slave. The fact that I attend Yale University just speaks volumes to how much progress that we have made, but specifically as an oppressed people. What I like to share is something that it's a statement about lines, right? 2 lines started parallel can never cross, right? To start as a slave and to compete against other races that are starting up here to get to where they are without their opportunities, without that potential, shows the type of resilience, the type of motivation, tenacity, and strength that anybody can be proud of.
I would like to say it's where we came from and where we're going. Our resilience and our struggle, that's worth something to be proud of, because it could either make you a breakthrough or the situation.
So y'all tag team on me, I didn't tell you. So what I wanted to say personally is that I'm actually reading a book right now in my class about how really history started like the first white person that read something, like Christopher Columbus. And really when I look back at white people, I'm not proud of it. What I am proud of the white people that changed. You know, I still say to laugh, but I'm proud of like my father's legacy that he left for me. And I learned to not to be proud of white people. Yeah, I learned to not like to see them look at the heart. You know.
The NAACP is most proud of the perseverance of our ancestors and for them giving us a shoulder to lean on. So, with that being said, we, the NAACP, ask that everyone in this room allow this conversation to not just be a talk, not just be something that's said here that gets everybody amped up for the moment, but allows it to be a seed planted into our lives, planted into our heart, that grows outside of these 4 walls. That actually goes to our campus where we held our campus administration responsible for the work that our ancestors have done. And that's what it is.
Good evening, everybody. Leadership, we said that the most part of our race is our strength. We look back at the history and the struggle we've been with people, and before we are now, we have African American as a president. Really, 20 years ago, we didn't think that would actually happen. Like I said, even on a personal level, like for my lineage, I'm the first one that actually graduated college. I'm saying my grandfather, father, everyone before him never got past what considered the middle or elementary level of education. So it's all about progress and strength and resilience.
Hi everyone, my name is Dory. What are we most proud of about our race? Personally, I'm proud of where we come from, but I'm not proud of where we're going. Our race has become very lazy, and feel that we deserve everything because of what our past has fought for. We didn't fight. We haven't, like, personally, like, some of us have fought, like, somewhat right now, but we didn't fight that fight that they fought 50 years ago. We didn't fight that fight that they fought 60 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm proud of where we come from because I'm thankful to my ancestors for what they've done. But us as a people right now haven't done anything. We're waiting for something to be placed in our hands. That we think we deserve, but we don't. So, yeah.
Again, as Ron said, I don't look at it as a race because there's only one race, the human race. We don't call cats and dogs races, right? But I think one thing that we didn't say that I'm most proud of is our inquiry, the knowledge that we have and that we give off to the world, because we've been so tainted with the fact that white people are the first to do this and that, when they've written those history books. In all actuality, we were the first to do almost everything on this planet. We were the first educated. We had the mystery system, where it took you 40 years to graduate from. We created the pyramids. We taught white people how to read and write. And then they learned from the Native Americans and then burned them and killed them. Well, so I think I'm most proud of our history, because if we were able to do it 1,000 years ago, we're still able to do it today. We just have to get on the same wavelength that they were on so that we can achieve it. Thank you.
So I had to answer that question, what am I most proud about race? I guess to kind of encapsulate it all, I'm proud about our race because we're still here. In spite of the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifference, we're still here. I'm proud that I'm able to stand in front of young adults who are paving that way, who are going to be making that difference. Oftentimes, I am presented with a whole lot of negative information about my own people, and I fight every day against it. But you guys are my breath of fresh air. When I can come in and know that, you know what, there's still a remnant of us, there's still that talented 10. Let me kind of use that, phrase that. There's still that 10 that's going to make a difference. And I appreciate it. So I'm proud because we're still here. So this concludes our evening for tonight. I want to thank you all. I want to thank our hosts. I want to thank everybody, and any last remarks from anyone? Yes, okay.
So I do want to thank all.
How does one determine racial identity? So I'm going to start with the table that I came with the last. So I'm going to start with you. Okay.
We said one determines racial identity based on appearance, environment, and cultural practices such as religion.
So determines the racial identity based on appearance and culture and environment. Upbringing and religion? Practices and
yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. What do you have to say?
So we said that one determines racial identity by thinking about how someone sees themselves and how they identify themselves, but also how others perceive them. So that can include cues such as physical attributes, as we mentioned, but also personal history, stereotypes that people either identify with or don't identify with, and just in general how people kind of relate to groups they feel a part of and groups they feel outside of.
Our answer to this question right here is a combination of both nature and nurture. Your upbringing will teach you being brave.
norms and customs that apply to racial background, education, and history is learned outside of the home within the school and society.
That racial identity is learned outside of the home. The school is also a part of the factors of outside of the home. Okay.
What's going on, everybody? My table said that one determines racial identity through social perception, what society says you are, and as well as socioeconomic status, the money you maybe have growing up, and as well the environment that shapes your identity as well.
Hi, we said racial identity is determined by what's instilled in you. Team light skin and team dark skin, as you see on Twitter and Instagram. Also, nature versus nurture speaks back off of what you all said. How we're taught to hate, taught to act a certain way against other groups of people, which categorizes the individual.
So, I'm going to throw a curveball here. So many times I've heard black people refer to other people, oh, they acting white, or they think they're white, or they're talking white. What does that mean? Where does that come from in relation to someone's upbringing? If someone has good diction, and they articulate, and they enunciate well, we tend to put this in this box and they're trying to be white, sound white. Why do we do that? Where does that come from? Lack of what? Where does that come from? So, ignorance. And a lack of ignorance. Yes.
My name is Edna. I think that also gets to the part that a lot of you guys touched on. We talked about how racial identity is both about how people perceive you. I think, we don't give ourselves enough credit. I don't think that we're just ignorant. I think that the way that people perceive black folks often comes with this assumption that being black is not part of being smart. And so I think that's something that we internalize and then throw back on other people. And so it doesn't necessarily come from us just not knowing. It comes from how our racial identity is tied to how people see us and how they treat us.
Any other thoughts? I was reading a book some months ago and by this brother from Atlanta, and it actually didn't really deal with race per se, but it actually dealt with sexual identity. The book was called Perfect Peace by Daniel Black. The book really dealt with this woman, probably in the 30s or 40s, who raised her. She had 6 sons, and she tried having her. She really desperately wanted to have a daughter. Subsequently, she got pregnant again, and she had a son. She was upset over it, but what she did, she took her son and she raised him as a girl. And she raised him so this little boy grew up thinking he was a girl. And the book was so strong for me because it dealt with so many issues. So here it is, this little boy, he's a little girl, and he dresses like a little girl, his hair is straight, everything, dolls, didn't go outside, didn't play with her brothers, and ultimately the mother's sins started to come out, and so the mother said, I'm going to change this. So she took her daughter out in the woods and said, you're a boy. No, you're no longer a girl, you're a boy. She cut her hair, threw her some jeans on, took her back home, and everybody in the house is bugged out. Now, so this little boy now is confused. His brothers are beating him up saying, stop acting like a sissy. Stop acting like this, right? And he said, I'm not acting like anything. I'm me. So I often think about that when we start talking about identity. It's like, what happens with us when that happens, when we have these experiences that make us one way, and we look at the society or the exterior says, no, you're not supposed to be that way, you're supposed to be this. What stands? Was this, some people took it on religious stuff, that was wrong, the kid was gay. I'm like, was he? Whose fault was that? One of the things I often say is no one's gotten where they are by themselves. And so what we do and how we interact with people is critical. It's very critical. So with this young lady, or this little boy, I can't even tell the gender in my head because I'm reading the book, if it's a little boy, little girl. But when we talk about identity, what makes us think what we are? Who determines that? So apparently this family, this mother had that impact on her son. to make him think that I'm a girl. That was that impact. How does society impact us when it comes to racial identity? Why we believe in what we woke up and we live like, I'm black, and this is what we are. And why is that? Who determined that? It's media. How does media play its role in shaping us? Yes.
Hello, my name is Michael, and I know, like you said, media plays a crucial factor in the identity issue. And it's like one of the things that I used to hear when I was younger is that I used to have quote unquote the white man voice, like a white man's like. I knew it, Johnny. Like, you know, stuff like that. And it's like the voice discrepancies, how you walk, you know, you walk up tall, then you have a little swagger here, or whatever. See, I just said wait, excuse me. With it, so the, you know, TV shows that is aired every day, you know, House of Pain, Meet the Browns and all of that, that displays like a average Southern black family. Then you have, Real Housewives or Mob Wives, and, you know, portraying a different kind of society. And people such as tourists from all across the world that is having a misperception of Americans in general. We're not just talking about human race, but Americans in general as being, you know, sassy and all that type of issues.
So the media, so you read the media. Thank you. So we're going to speak this. That's what you said.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. Hi. Thanks, Alex. I mean, what I think has played a large part in identity is just the media, like you said. I feel like the media also provides for kids instant role models. People that they can instantly look up to that are funny, that play nice music, that sounds smart. I think that basically it can be anybody, it can be a rap star, it can be Jersey Shore, it can be a football player. But I feel like that's what really plays a large part besides the family, who they see someone that's like already successful, who they kind of want to become. That kind of sets the tone as well. Nothing. Thank you.
Racial identity, so I think you can say, suffice to say that in today's society we have to include the media. And it probably plays a large part today, and it probably has the last 30, 40 years. We're going to kind of speed this up a little. So when we ask the questions down, we're not going to give you like 5 minutes. All questions will be 2 minutes. So get your thinking caps on, get your pens, your quills ready, and we go to the next question, number 3, which is around what age do children typically become aware of their race or skin, or color in general? At what age do children become aware of their skin, race, or color? 2 minutes. At what age do children typically become aware of their race, skin color in general? And I'm gonna go to UNH.
The answer that we had was varies between where you are born or where you are from. You learn to be self-aware of gender and racial identity based on your upbringing. There's an example of this from Dave Chappelle's show when he thought he was part of the, when he thought he was white. And the message, it was crazy. Even though he was blind, the real message is that some people are brought up until 30 years old and really believe that they are of a different race. Meanwhile, their skin is either black or white. So like the message, now I'm thinking about it, now that you brought up the question, I thought about that show in general. So yeah, it varies between ages.
And that might be black for real. Interesting. Southern.
Hello, everybody. We said that the age is typically between 5 and 7 when you go to elementary school, but there obviously are other factors, as they said. It can come down to where you're raised at, who you're raised by, and a lot of other different factors. So we said between 5 and 7, but that could vary depending on the other factors.
Hello, my name's Becky. You said that it starts normally in the middle school age when we have the standardized tests and they actually fill in the blood, right? So that's the time that you actually get recognized who you are.
And let me see. Yeah, who wants to?
Hi, my name is Kate. You're saying that probably around the age of 5 or 6, whenever students are becoming exposed to things who look different from them or attracted, to other backgrounds. And although they know that they have different skin tone or like color than they do, they don't really know why that is. And they probably will learn the significance of that later on. They don't really know like what that means for that. That's what commonly matters at that point. So, but yeah, that's
So, who's going to be the spokesperson for this group?
We didn't know we were supposed to change it, so I just. Well, we said that the age varies because it depends on your upbringing, because your first sense of exposure of your race, skin, or identity of that matter starts at home, so it varies.
It varies. So research says actually there's like between the ages of 3 and 11. 3 and 11. But you can actually, thank you got the radio? You got these?
Yes, some of us have to read.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
When was the first time you remember, you remember a time in your life when you realized that, hey, I'm not like everybody else, or, I'm different? When did somebody bring that to your attention? You stand up. Let's put you in this spot.
I went to Catholic school when I was younger, and I don't know, there was I had a lot of white friends instead of black friends, and I didn't realize that until I switched from Catholic school to a public school when there's more people of my color.
And how old are you?
Like
10?
or like 8.
Anybody else? Anybody today?
Hello, everyone. My name is Enrique. In my we have an inquiry course. It's like for all the freshmen here at Southern, and we just finished reading Black Like Me. So part of the curriculum, they had us watch. We watched this short, kind of like a spoken poem, and the gentleman was speaking. African American gentleman was speaking about his younger nephew in the back of the car. And so they drove by a police cruiser, and the nephew, who was 4 years old, said, "Oh no, we have to hide." So I think depending on the environment and how you're brought up, that's when you identify race and skin color and what that means for you and what situation that puts you in. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Natasha. For me personally, I would say that it starts around 4 or 5. For example, my little sister, she's 5, and I'll never forget this summer. She came home, and she attended a predominantly white school. She said, "Tasha, you're brown, you're dirty." My sister's 5. Now, she has way lighter skin than me, and my mother's light skin as well. And I just couldn't believe that she said that to me, and I just couldn't help but think that it's starting from the school system and all her friends are around the way. And somebody must have said something to her for her to realize that she's different. And then for her to come back to me, well, you're way different, you know what I mean? So.
Hi, my name is Taylor. I think I would agree with everyone who said that it varies personally. I feel that I realized race at a very young age, like maybe 4, because my mother, she always was very proud to be black. She wanted me to be proud to be black. So she, you get the black Barbies. You're beautiful. These black Barbies are beautiful, So then you go to your friend's house and say, wait, my Barbie looks different from your Barbie. Like, little teeny things like that really expose children to race.
So, oh, okay. So, got you, coming around.
Hi, I'm Brianna. But yeah, when I was in Christian school and Catholic school up until 6th grade, I used to think like, not even when I was white, but I used to think that white Barbie dolls were better than the black dolls. And my dad was like, you should always go to the black ones. I'm like, no, they're nasty, ugly. And my dad used to feel bad that in the store he would try to force it on me. But not until I came to public schools, I was like, oh, okay, I have more people my color, and I started finding myself.
And I would like to say that it does depend on who you are, but my niece, this last week I was taking her to Walmart, and my mom told me to go get her a toy. We're going down in Happy New Dolls. And she said, I don't want the black doll, I want the white doll with the perm hair. Now to her, that made sense because it was straight. But she's been taught to, believe so. And then I thought of, and at the time when she said it, then I think I asked again and she said it again, so I just pushed the cart. But as I thought about it later, I realized that when her mom and her aunts used to play around, put the wigs on her and baby, I know it sounds crazy, but people do stupid stuff like that. And I feel like when you see her mom, her aunt go out, the different hair one day, long, short, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that all plays a role.
I'm not to wrap this up. I gotta get into the back and try and squeeze you guys in.
All right, I'll make it quick. Hi everyone, my name is Natalie. I think it's very interesting how everyone keeps saying that they realize they kind of realize what skin color and everything was in private school, because that's exactly what happened to me. My mom, I was a very sheltered child, I didn't know anything. And when I went to, on my first day of private school, was Baptist school, a girl actually told me that she didn't want to sit next to me because I was, quote unquote, the devil's favorite color. And I was like, no, I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not red. So it's I feel like what happens is once people start pointing it out to you, that's when you realize. Because as a child, I used to think, oh, I am darker than people because I was born at night. People are lighter because it's born during the day. So I think it's once you point it out, that's when it really matters.
This last comment here, we will move on to the next question.
I've noticed this stuff since I was younger, growing up in a household with 4 brothers and sisters, 4 of us total, 3 boys, 1 girl. As me being the lightest one, yes, I am a highlighter, instead of now. But my brother used to always say, get out of here, white boy. Go figure. You say my little sister, you white, leave me alone. It got to the point where I'm pissed off at myself because of the color of my skin. And this is me in elementary school, 5th, 6th grade. So what I decided to do, don't judge me. Some people might say this is retarded, but I took a black permanent marker and I tried to cover myself. Because I was tired of dealing with stuff in my own household. You can't live in a household with peace and there's no either, so I had to be subconscious of my own color. My mom black skin. So she literally told me to be proud of who you are. So I started being proud, okay, I just ignored ignorance. Me having a type of white girlfriend. I never used to do that. But I couldn't even sit on the water when I'm trying to think, next to the rock, having a white couple go by. A Caucasian couple walk by and they say, look at that nigga, he's gonna drown. I went home 2 weeks ago to see my family. I couldn't keep on the train due to the color of my skin. I'm like, I'm light skinned. There's a dude darker than me. He fed him, but didn't feed me. I don't know why. He literally said, well, I'm not feeding no one on this car. I'm like, okay, fine. On my way back, before I came back, I'm in Bradford. If anybody knows, if you go on to Bradford, you gotta go to Lynchburg, which is pretty much home state of racism. Like that's slavery right there. I went to a track meet there. I got called black. Literally, black people have literally trained outside. It's indoor track season. That means it's cold outside and it's snow. So I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that this racism is still going on after all these years and seeing that Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, they literally fought for what we're doing, and even in the black community, we still call each other niggers. Like, you feel me? Like, that's kind of upsetting. I'm just saying, like, that. And we get mad when we have, I'm sorry, like, let's say people say niggers, everybody in the room comes like, what? What are you doing? But we can say it all the time. I just wanted to just throw that out there.
We all had our impact on what race is, and it sounds like oftentimes, listening to everyone saying, a lot of this occurred when we were in our formative years growing up. And what I find amazing is that in our own community, that we are like really so ultra critical about what we look like. And I guess I would probably just put that back down to probably slavery on down. It's just kind of something that's innate. I hate to say that, but we've hated ourselves to the point where we just kind of push that off onto our children. So I guess a brother of my complexion growing up, you know, I have everything, and I grew up in Brooklyn in the project, so I heard everything in the book, and that's when, you know, it was just not popular to be dark-skinned. So that was a huge, you know, impact. So it's our community has plays a huge role on how we feel about each other growing up, unfortunately. Next question. So George Santayana, the Spanish philosopher, once said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." How does this saying relate to the history of race and our current state of race in this wonderful country? You have 2 minutes.